I plead innocent of all charges.
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Talking Elvis. And we've got a nice little special guest star, but who's with me?
It's myself, Mr. Gray, once again. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Gray. Talking to me live via satellite from the other side of the world, aren't you?
We've been bounced all over the world around the outside of the stratosphere, which is actually quite the safest thing to do in this current climate.
Yeah, I wish I was in Sputnik. That would be a great T-shirt, wouldn't it?
You'd have to sort of swap places with a monkey, maybe, but you'd be...
It's been done before. You ask my wife.
How are you?
I'm all good. I'm just thinking now. I've just got sci-fi in my head. Where's Superman? Can't he fly around the world backwards? And we'll just have this.
I know. Maybe you could only do it in the 70s. It was 1978 that when he did that, wasn't it? So
yeah,
that's a bit of a shame. There must be something. I mean, it's like, on the television, you've got the Flash, haven't you? You got Supergirl, you got all that sort of stuff, and yet none of these people are stepping in, are they?
No.
Where are they when the going gets rough?
Yeah, Avengers Assemble, my arse. Right.
And there's me thinking all these Hollywood things were blooming documentaries.
The only one was The Incredibles. That's the only documentary.
Ah, right, okay. Anyway, back to the real.
Oh, good. So, welcome to the show. Now, we have a special guest star this week, and I didn't know much about her. Because, to be honest, before I started the podcast here, I wasn't really a podcasty person. I was just trying to do a radio show on the cheap, right? So, I wasn't ready to, but you were well into the podcast, aren't you? So just tell me all about this guest we've got today.
Well, the reason I got into the podcast in the first place was because of other interests. So I listened to sporting podcasts and basically football ones of various guises. And we've been talking about doing a podcast for a long time, hadn't we? And so I thought, okay, then now let's just come away from a football podcast for a little while and have a search around and just type in the word Elvis podcast or something like that into my preferred choice, which is Spotify. And I found the Jungle Room. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. Let's have a look at that. So there was no photographs, there was no pictures, there's no nothing. So I clicked on episode 1, and there was this lady speaking, and I'm thinking, well, she sounds, typically American and quite, easy to listen to, nice voice and all that sort of stuff. So I listened. And it was really interesting. I got into 1 or 2 episodes and I carried on for about a month. I thought, I'm going to contact this lady and see what the score is here. And so what I did was I contacted her and said, hello from England. Very nice to hear from you. This is great. I love the subjects that you're talking about. I love how the people are interacting with you and all this sort of stuff. And of course, in the very next show, she mentioned us, and she mentioned the show, the radio show that we do, and it was I thought, this is a very nice, friendly person. She was coming across as that. She was doing advertising for us without being asked and stuff like that. So we got in touch, and she invited me on the show, and it was the legend that is Jaime Kay, and her podcast was simply called the Jungle Room Podcast.
Excellent stuff. And she really has become the queen of the podcasts, hasn't she, for the Elvis world?
I think so. Yeah, she's got a very, very good following. She's been, she's won awards for this podcast, where she's from in Alaska, and yeah, she's just very nice to listen to. And we've been very fortunate that we both appeared on her show, on the Jungle Room podcasts a little while back when we were launching this very podcast here.
Yes, it was actually the launch, wasn't it, that we were pushing. Yeah, and I think, well, we had to get her return the favour and get her on the show.
I think it's about time we did, yeah.
So here she is.
Hi guys, this is Jaime Kay from the Jungle Room Podcast, and you're listening to Vince Wright and Ian Gray on the Talking Elvis Podcast.
And on this edition of Talking Elvis, the podcast, we are reaching out to the podcast family, the Elvis podcasting family, and we're delighted. We're absolutely thrilled to have Anne-Margaret Want-to-Be, Jaime Kay on the line.
Jamie,
that's
hello.
Where
I know her. That's where I recognise her from, of course. Brett, the queen of the podcasts.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yes.
Yes, welcome. You're sitting in your jungle room, and Vince is sitting in his pub, his virtual pub there.
We're all in the virtual pub. We're all in the virtual pub.
And we're required 2 meters apart, so we're doing okay.
We do what we like in our virtual pub.
How are you doing over there, Jamie? It's all a bit mad at the moment.
Yeah, it is weird. It's a very surreal feeling to be in this time that we're living in. And I think, like most of us in the world, we're just taking it day by day.
That's all we can do, isn't it, huh?
Yeah.
I want to say well done on your last couple of Jungle Room podcasts. Alana Nash was superb, I have to say.
Thank you so much. That was such a joy to be able to interview her. She's very lovely. She's very intelligent.
Yeah.
And I was just really honored to get the opportunity to interview her.
And as soon as I listened to those, I went straight onto my Kindle and ordered the Memphis Mafia book and the Colonel book. So just on the strength of your interviewing her. So
I'm sure she appreciates that.
Isn't that what the podcast's all about? Isn't it? That it is people who are interested can find out about stuff and spread the word, and then we all just go round in circles, just going, I never knew that. I never knew that. I love it. I just love that when you learn one new Elvis fact today.
It is weird, and I think I've said this on your radio show. Elvis in life was a connector, and here he is still connecting people all over the world.
And your appearance on TCB Cast a couple of weekends ago was superb. That was a long show, wasn't it, with Justin and Gerdip?
Yeah, the Facebook Live.
Yeah, that was superb. Really enjoyed listening to that. I didn't listen to it live, unfortunately, but I did catch up a couple of days later when I was around the house doing all our things. So that was really good fun.
Yeah, those guys are fun.
Yeah. There's something between there's some sort of connection between yourself and Gerdip, I think. There's a bit of a there's a playoff going on there, isn't there?
There is, and I don't know where it started, but
it sounds
now
great.
It's just to be expected. Yeah, I kind of enjoy giving him grief. It makes me feel whole.
Oh, so we're going to get it in the neck tonight. I like that.
Right then. Okay, so anybody who's coming on the show now needs to, well, they don't need to, but we're going to recommend the following questions. So, Vince, you want to go with the first question, and we'll go all to questions to Jamie on that one then. All
right, so what we do is we don't want you to plan the answers on these. We like you to just go, this is it. So, question number 1, have you been to Graceland?
No.
And you're planning to go, Jamie, hopefully?
Yes, I am planning to go. Hopefully, our trip is not going to be canceled. The trip is in August, so it's still a little bit out there. So I'm planning to go in August, and while I'm in Memphis, I will be interviewing Ginger Alden on August 12th.
Wow, that's quite the something, isn't it?
That is the scoop.
I must admit, when I went to Graceland, I didn't get anywhere near Ginger Alden, so that's well done to you.
Let me clarify, I'm not interviewing Ginger Alden at Graceland. I'm interviewing her at the Hugh Hotel on August 12th, and the event is being presented by Sarah Madison and is sponsored by Elvis Matters.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, next we'll probably.
Before we go on to the next question,
go on.
So saying whether we'll be going or not, I'm due to be going in June, so I think I can safely say that isn't going to happen. So I'm fingers crossed for you with August.
You should go in August when I'll be there.
Well, there's an offer I can't refuse. Yes.
You just said the wrong thing, Jamie. You do not want to be in the same city as this man at the same time.
Yeah, I'm sorry now. That's it. I'm hiding in a suitcase. It's official. Yes.
Okay, Jamie. How did you hear the news that Elvis had passed away?
Well, I was 8 months old.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure I was in my playpen or something like that. But interesting story, the day that Elvis died, my mom was such a huge Elvis fan that my dad got off work early to go home to check on her to make sure she was okay.
Oh, yeah. That's really sweet, isn't it?
It's in the blood then.
Yes. I became an Elvis fan because of my mom. So for as long as I remember, Elvis has been a part of my world.
I think we've both been like that, haven't we? Mom's had Elvis
Mhm.
records, and we sort of we both agree with that story, don't we?
We do indeed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I get the horrible question. Do do you watch tribute artists?
Hmm. Well, interestingly enough, I have never seen a tribute artist live except for a show that we saw in Vegas. That was my first time. But I am a fan of Jessie Mallory here in America, but I've only seen her on Facebook Live. So I, I'm not really answering the question, am I?
Is this a
Oh.
female? Is this a female Elvis?
Jessie
Jamie?
Mallory is, yes, she is a female. I've heard her sing some of her own material. She's very talented, and I enjoy watching her.
Does
Oh,
she
we
do
should.
the jumpsuit and everything?
No, she actually does more of the 1950s Elvis, like with the
Oh,
gold
That's
jacket.
very interesting. We
oh,
that's the sort of thing that appealed to us because we have had a female Elvis impersonator on the show previously, haven't we? So
yes, from Australia, wasn't she?
mm.
Well, you should
So
have Jessie on your show.
I'm just writing her name down now. That's planning as we go on. Well done.
Yes, watch this space. We'll have a bit of that.
Good
Because
stuff.
I think that's the big decider. The do you do tribute artists is the one that causes the most punch ups, isn't it? Of it's love them or hate them.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't really understand the reasons why they're hated. I don't understand that. Maybe because I just don't hate anyone.
yeah,
But
Hmm.
they're I mean, what they're doing is really no different than what we're doing. They're just doing it in a different fashion. So I think Elvis would be quite pleased to see so many Elvis tribute artists.
I think the quality is an important thing. That there's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's true.
dross. There is a lot of put me in a jumpsuit and I'll have a go, and it would be dire. But some people don't seem to get the message.
Very popular though, and you're probably no further than 20 steps away from an Elvis tribute artist in the UK anyway. So
Well, as long
it's
as
one
it's
of,
more than 6'6", I'm all right.
Well, I think too, it all goes back to where they're coming from. What is their heart condition when they're doing this? Are they doing this because they're truly a fan of Elvis Presley, and this is the way to show how much they love him, or is it more out of a sense of greed or sinister?
well,
Yeah.
a lot of them object to being called impersonators, don't they? They always justify that as a new tribute artist. So
Mhm.
so yeah, well, good luck to them. That's what I say. But not everybody's cup of tea. Okay, then now, Jamie, this next song, this next question, is probably the answer to it will probably change on a daily basis. So and we ask it to everybody, and it's a very unfair type of question. But what is your favourite song, your Elvis song?
Now
I know
it's all about now.
every time I'm asked this question, I know the people that have heard me answer this think, wow, her answers change all the time. And it does. Right now, I have been listening to Let Us Pray, what that Elvis sang in Change of Habits.
Hmm.
I've been listening to that a lot. And also Clean Up Your Own Backyard. That's been playing a lot in our house this past month. So for now, those are my two.
Pretty good, pretty good. Vince, what have you got?
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing on those because those are darn good songs anyway, aren't they? And I think sometimes when you ask what's your favourite song, it's what's the earworm, what's the song you can't get out your head at the moment. That's why I like that question of what is it now? Because you could say, oh, I've always loved this song, but when you go, what is it today? Now, that's it, bang. And that's my favourite question for that one. Right, question 5. Dun, dun, dun. What is your top 5 Elvis films?
My top 5 Elvis.
Yeah, again, on off the top of your head now.
Yeah. Okay. King Creole, Jailhouse Rock, Charo,
Mhm.
Flaming Star, and oh gosh, only 5, huh? Viva Las Vegas.
Oh,
Pretty good choices.
we like the westerns. All right, now we know. Yes.
And of course, Viva Las Vegas is pretty prominent in our podcast for last week. So so that's very current for us as well. So that's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
I think that it's JLS Rock and King Creole are just classic films, whether you're talking about Elvis or films generally. So they are great. They are just
Yes.
anybody can watch those.
And I really feel like with King Creole, you could really see how good of an actor he truly was. And I think had he really got into better movies, he would have just been phenomenal as an actor.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that about Flaming Star afterwards.
Yes.
That you've just mentioned as well, can't you? Because there was only a couple of songs in that, and that was a very serious role. And that was his last serious role that he did before until he got to Charo and Change of Habit, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we'd have had Wild in the Country as another
Wild in the
good.
Country is also a good one too.
Yeah, that's got to be a great acting one.
Yes.
Yeah, such a shame, and it's a conversation we have often, isn't it, Vince? It's about these movies.
And I think, it's what is your favourite but sometimes, it's not the cleverest, but don't you just love having a kissing cousins, an hour and a half, and you know exactly what it is, but you just come away grinning. It's never going to get an Oscar, but you just go, I love that. Look at the rope on the front of the Jeep. Yeah.
It's all good stuff. All good stuff. So, and final question, and it's probably irrelevant now. Have you ever dressed up as Elvis?
Yes. In the 4th grade, I was in a talent show, and I dressed up like Elvis and lip synced to Jailhouse Rock.
Oh, wow.
Oh, tell me there's video evidence.
No, there's not. No. But I do remember it, and I had just cut my hair in a Dorothy Hamill haircut, like probably a few months before, and I remember right before I went on stage going to the bathroom and using water to slick my hair back.
I love that.
I can honestly say that I've never done anything serious when it comes to dressing up as Elvis. I mean, myself and Vince here have put silly masks on occasionally when we're at functions, but I've never done the job. I've never, apart from I love wearing my Speedway jacket, don't I? So that's about it for me, isn't it?
You do pose a little in that one, and I suppose for me, I spent most of the 80s thinking I was 1950s Elvis with a quiff and a DA and everything. So I suppose that is technically dressing up, but I thought I was cool.
You still think it's cool?
Yeah.
You still got your in concert jacket, haven't you? You still wear that every now and then.
I thought you were going to say incontinence then.
Hey, I've seen that as well.
Yeah, my in concert. Yes, I had the in concert jacket in the 80s. I mean, it was no way it would go around me now, but it still has pride of place in the wardrobe.
Excellent stuff. Okay. All right, Jamie, well done on that. I'm sorry to put you in those awkward sort of positions, but yeah, well done. You came through it with flying colours. There's no wrong answers and there's no right answers either. So well done.
It tells the truth about people, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Stuff. Right then. So, Jamie, we have been doing this podcast. This will be something like episode 10 now of our podcast, but you're into about 70 or 80. Episodes of yours now, aren't you? That's you going what 2 or 3 years now?
2 years. Yes.
2 years, yeah. And what made you decide that you were going to do an Elvis Presley podcast?
Well, I had been toying with the idea to do a podcast for quite some time, and I was talking to my mom one day, and we were going over some of my ideas, and she said, "Why don't you do an Elvis Presley podcast?" And I could have kicked myself for never thinking of it. And I'm like, that's genius. Why don't I do an Elvis Presley podcast? And so at the time I was working at a radio station with my first co-host, Dave Stroh. And Dave and I had worked together and at a previous radio station years and years before. And our common thread of conversation was always about Elvis. So we started, the episodes were really short. They were about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's where the idea came from. It actually came from my mom.
Oh wow! And you've been slowly and gradually adding quite a following. I guess. What are you now? Do you have any rough numbers?
I think we're at 250,000 subscribers now,
Wow.
and that is accumulation of all the venues of where you can listen to our show. But we're not. We still have a long way to go. There's a lot of people who, even Elvis fans on social media, who have never heard our show. So hopefully that'll change.
Yeah, social media, I think, is the problem here. Is sometimes, isn't it? Because the likes of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, they tend to sort of stick just to those platforms, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know whether you find the same thing as we do. So we get people who are not listening to the radio show because they tell me they haven't got an internet connection, which is fine. But then that message comes through on Facebook. So
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that they will like the picture, which is your advert for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, looking at the numbers, they haven't gone to see what the episode is. They just go, it's a nice picture, which is all very good. But it sort of throws you, doesn't it, on, oh, well, 2,000 people have seen this, 300 liked it. Oh, yeah, what's going on here?
And
so,
we only have, I think, like 1,100 members on our Facebook group, and I think 1,900 people like our Facebook page. I'm guessing. I could be off a little bit, but so it's interesting to, having to put all these numbers together. But podcasts, especially for our demographic, it's still a new avenue of entertainment for most people.
Yeah.
So I think it's educating the public that, hey, podcasts are free. You can subscribe. It doesn't cost any money, and you can listen to it at your own leisure, like anytime you want. It doesn't. I know I've had this question. Oh, I keep missing your podcast. No, you haven't missed it. It's there forever. So, I think it's just we have to continue to educate our listeners and our potential listeners that, hey, podcasts are free. They're a great way to connect and learn about whatever it is you want to learn about.
Yeah. You must be thrilled though, having over 200,000 sort of hits on your show though. Did you think after the first, I don't know, 20 shows that you thought this thing is never going to take off and we might as well just give it up? Or did you ever have that feeling?
I never thought about giving it up. I did come to a point where it wasn't going in the direction that I wanted it to go. Mm-hmm. And I had to make some changes in that way. When we took a 6-month hiatus because I had went down to Alabama to visit my family and stay with my mom for a little bit when she was ill. So it was during that time I started really researching what makes a successful podcast, the direction I wanted it to go. And I've made a few mistakes, a lot of mistakes. And I'm still learning because producing a show is still very new to me. And since now that I'm doing all the production myself, I'm learning as I go. And I think I have to always do each show with a sense of gratitude and also remember why I'm doing it. Because I'm someone, once something stops being fun or stops being what the initial purpose was, then it needs time to reevaluate why you're doing it or move on.
There you go, Vince.
Yeah.
Well, all is not lost.
Well,
no, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, nothing happens overnight. And, for instance, my interview with Alana Nash, I would have thought I would have had, a lot more hits on that. Everything is relative. Some person's hot button is not another person's hot button. Yeah. So you just have to remember why you're doing it and do what you love to do.
So you mentioned. Sorry, go on.
We've always said we do this to entertain each other. That's the sort of the barometer, isn't it? If we both like what we're doing, we're on the right track. So it's just a matter of time. To quote another song.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Ford along with Jaime Kay from the Jungle Room podcast, and you're listening to Vince Wright and Ian Gray on the Talking Elvis podcast. Thank you very much.
Jaime, do you put your, shall we say, invitations to interview, say, Ginger Alden in August, to talk to Alana Nash, to talk to the family of Billy Smith, down to the fact that you're getting more and more and more popular as you come through the podcasting time?
I think so. I mean, I think it all has to do with, who you know.
Mm.
I think Atlanta Nash probably would not have been that open to do an interview with me had I not had the podcast for a little while. Also, the fact that I'm friends with Joey Smith and his son Dakota, and she's friends with the Smith family. There's a trust there. But I've reached out to a lot of people, and I either get, yes, we'll come on your show, and then they ghost me, or they just ignore me completely. So
I've had some of that.
yeah, and those are probably the most frustrating. I can think of two individuals right now, and I won't say their names, but they're two. One's very, very popular in the Elvis world, and the other, that person is, I mean, you would know that person's name, but both have said, yes, I'd love to do your show, and then we make plans, and one, well, she totally ghosted me. So it happens. But right now with where we are in the world, everyone has got stuff going on. So I don't take it personally. It's everyone is dealing with something right now.
Yeah, and there's room for all of us, isn't there? Because if you're doing an interview with one person, we don't want to do the same person because it'd be boring, wouldn't it? That we all want to go, I've got to listen to their show because they've got and we've got and they've got. So there's enough for it. There's something for everyone.
Oh, definitely. And I think there's definitely room for our podcasts to grow alongside each other. And also, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a person on someone else's show because we all ask different questions.
Yeah,
And I'm
you're
sure
right.
when you were listening to my show with Atlanta Nash, you probably thought of a whole slew of questions that I didn't ask. And so, that's something that's important. I feel like what we do in the podcast world with Elvis Presley and rock and roll history as a whole, I feel like there's just room for everyone because everyone can bring their own magic to it.
I agree with you there. I'm hoping as well that over the next 2 months, next 3 months, certainly there was going to be a lot of people with a lot of time on their hands. Whether they're just doing stuff around the house or whether they're clearing out that photograph box, whatever. But they don't need to be binge watching the
Netflix.
TV programs on Netflix and all this sort of stuff, do they? They can actually expand their entertainment world by coming into the world of the podcast, and hopefully that'll be good for all of us.
Oh, I think so. I think we're going to see, my show, your show, and Justin and Gurdeep's show. I really do feel like in the next year, we're really going to hit our stride and we're going to really grow.
Fantastic.
Wouldn't that be tremendous? And we'll all appear in the same podcast at some point in the future. I'm sure we'll do that.
I'm hoping for my 100th episode, I can get all of you guys. We've been talking about this for a while now, but I'm thinking that for my 100th episode, that would be the time to do it.
What a fantastic idea.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Sign us up. We're done.
Yeah, the lockdown special. We're in.
What do you got over there, Vince?
What have I got over here? I don't know. I've lost the plot, and I'm just thinking
not
about
the 1968
lockdown.
Not the 68 comeback special. It's the 2020 lockdown special. There we go.
That's right.
Sorry, James. We go off on a tangent like this sometimes.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, we can't let yourself go. It's lock yourself up. Yeah.
Just stop, okay?
No. So, that was good. What do you reckon, Ginger? I want more stories about Ginger. How did that come about? The interview.
With Ginger Alden?
Yeah.
So I was approached by Sarah Madison. I think Sarah and Ginger had been working on doing something, an event with Ginger, and I'm not sure if Ginger had mentioned me to Sarah or Sarah mentioned me to Ginger. I'm not sure how that went about, but I was asked, and of course I was like, oh yeah, most definitely I'll do that.
Wow.
And and then, my talking to Ginger on the phone has been, she's very, very nice. She's very kind. And I think people are going to be surprised that she isn't exactly what she's been portrayed. And I think it's going to be very refreshing to hear her stories about her time with Elvis, because she has, even though their relationship was very short, it was only 9 months, she does have some very endearing, fun stories that just gives you a glimpse into who Elvis was that last year of his life.
Do you think you're going to get more stories than appeared in her book? Do you think there's any more to come out?
I think there are some. I think
Uh-huh.
there's always something great when you hear a person tell a story versus when you read it in a book. It's more
Yeah.
personable.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that that's going to resonate a lot with the people that attend this event, because it's an evening with Ginger Alden, and you're going to be right there up close and personal with her.
Are you sold all the tickets now?
I haven't. I think there's some left.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a few left. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's going to be great. And there's an opportunity to meet and greet, I guess, afterwards.
Yes. Yeah. So the tickets are
Wow.
$40, and you can meet and greet. You can do the meet and greet, which is included in that $40.
Oh, that's good.
Sounds fantastic. Vince, you'll have to reschedule and go in August.
Well, that would be the dream now. Yes. But yeah, I want my money back first. That will be fine. It is amazing. Will you use that interview on the podcast after? Will there be a sort of an edited highlights for those of us who can't make it?
I think that they are going to air it on YouTube. I think Ginger is going to have a YouTube channel in which they will show the interview on YouTube, because this isn't my event, so
Yeah.
I won't have any control or creative control over what happens to the interview after that. So, but people will get a chance to see it on YouTube after the event.
Sounds fantastic.
That'll be us.
I'm looking forward to that a lot. So anybody now? Jerry Schilling is probably on the opposite side to Ginger Alden as regards after Elvis. After 77, he's probably more aligned with Priscilla Presley though.
Mm-hmm.
Cha-ching.
Would you rather he interviewed someone like him on that side of the tree, or Ginger?
Are you talking for myself?
Yeah.
I would. So the Jungle Room podcast, I think I can say this on your show. This has been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. The Jungle Room podcast is an unofficial podcast about Elvis Presley. It is not a podcast about Ginger Alden or Linda or Priscilla. We're very neutral. We want to talk to everybody. And I would love to talk to Jerry Schilling, because I do think he's one of the few that if you listen to him talk, he himself is very neutral. I don't think I've ever heard him say anything bad about anyone in his book or in his interviews. And I know that there's some fans that don't like that he's friends with Priscilla, but you guys have to remember that back when Priscilla came over to Graceland when she was a young girl, Jerry's only a couple of years older than she is, or they could be the same age. There's a brother-sister vibe I get between the two of them. I feel like they kind of grew up together. And so I don't think Jerry is the type of person that would just cut anyone out of his life or not like someone because someone else didn't like them. I think you would have to do something to him personally to get him to be like, yeah, I don't like that person. Now, I'm saying all of this. I've never met Jerry. This is just my opinion of what I've seen so far and what I have gathered from people who have met him and spent time with him, that he is a really cool guy and has a good core.
Yeah,
That's nice.
And of course he would be showing at one of the up and coming garden parties that Mary Hertwig was talking to you about last week.
Yes.
That'd be pretty cool to go to one of those, wouldn't it?
Oh, I definitely want to go to that. I definitely want to.
So, how long will you be in Memphis this August? Are you sort of going to do everything?
I am going to do as much as possible. We're going to be there for 10 days. So my goal is I want to meet a lot of people, a lot of the listeners that have become friends. I'm excited to meet people that I've only spoken to over the phone. I want to do Beale Street, definitely doing Graceland. I want to do the VIP tour.
Yes.
I want to try to do as much as possible. 10 days sounds like a lot, but we also have to, see our families and stuff too. It can't be all about Elvis, but I'm super excited because, to have a podcast about Elvis Presley and never have gone to Graceland has been sort of an ongoing joke between my co-host Mike and I. He likes to tease me that I've never gone, but look where I live. It's a little bit more difficult to get to Graceland.
See, I can recommend to you on Beale Street the Rum Boogie Bar, which is on the right at the bottom of Beale Street on the left-hand side, going away from it. The Rum Boogie Bar is a fantastic sort of old style sort of bar. It plays fantastic music. Get a great set of drinks in there, and that's always been my recommendation to anybody going to Memphis.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely.
We've covered tons there. I love it. I think she's fascinating, aren't you? Yes, I said she is. If you weren't there, sorry about that. We're talking about you behind your back. No, very interesting. We've kind of used you as a template when we decided to set up and go for it. But we're not, certainly don't feel competition. I love the playing each other's jingles. I love all that. And in the show that I'm putting out, just finish editing. Yes, you'll either be amused or offended, but we'll have a go. We'll try it. And thank you for playing the same with the jingle I did for you. I thought she'll love it or she'll hate it.
Well, that I have been playing you guys' sound bites for
That was great at the beginning.
episodes.
At the beginning of 2 shows. That's
Yes.
brilliant.
Yes.
No, we appreciate everything, every mention that we get, because we're a couple of confidence people, aren't we, Vince? We like to know that people like us, so otherwise we get upset. So thank you for doing that for us. We do appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll keep doing it as well, won't we?
Indeed we will.
Yes.
Indeed we will.
And we will plug Ginger as much as we can.
Oh, thank you guys.
Been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure, Jamie. Thank you very much for coming in.
All right. Thank you guys for having me.
Cheers. See you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Stay tuned for more Elvis.
The queen of the podcasting, eh? That was lovely. It's really what a pleasure to have the splendid Jaime Kay on our show.
She's
with us.
good, isn't she?
She really is good, yeah. And she was much the same when she appeared on the radio show back in January. Very forthcoming, very sort of pleasant, and she knows your thing, and she has a different type of slant on the Elvis world, compared to us. But it'd be a bit dull if it was all the same, wouldn't it?
That's what I like with the podcast, isn't it? Because you've got 2 drunk old blokes having an opinion here with us, which is our trademark. And then you're having the female and younger version on that side. It was the same in Denmark, wasn't it, when we were talking to Henrik?
Yes, it was indeed, yeah.
That he has the younger person on the show for a different view. And you need them all, don't you? You need them all to get a balanced view. When nobody is just chanting, "We love Elvis," and that you must, or else it's your choice to drop in on these, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and I think it's an absolute necessity. That what we're all doing is actually, before recording these podcasts, is researching our subject, researching whoever we are interviewing, making sure we've got the facts right. That's not always going to be, we're not always going to get it right, but we try. And I think it comes across as really professional. and it's an absolute, it's a pleasure. I mean, I think Jamie's done something like 70 episodes. I think she mentioned there over 2 years, and we're hoping that we can sort of go the same way. But I just love the sheer professionalism of it, and making it sound light-hearted as well. That's really important.
It is having a bit of fun. It's having fun on stage with Elvis. It's having fun on the airwaves with it. And I think great things will grow, and we're still saying to everybody out there, get involved. Tell us what you want. The last episode we did with the favourite females. That was amazing on Facebook. Everybody had an opinion. Oh my, did they have an opinion? It was what we wanted, and you can clearly see who won by the vote of the public. We weren't wrong.
I told you we was right. We're always right. And but we do want people's opinions. We do want people to come and disagree with us, because that's what makes the world go round, and it makes for an altogether more interesting place as well. Like I said at the start of this little thing, where would we be if we all sounded the same?
That's it. It's something for everyone. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. And this is why we carry on doing it. And this is why we've got yourself and myself. This is why we've got Jaime Kay over in America, in Alaska. It's why we've got Justin and Gerdip in America as well. There's probably loads of other Elvis podcasts out there as well. That's I encourage everybody to listen to. And the world's our lobster these days, and we can disagree with anything.
Talk about the good times with Talking Elvis.
Then Saturday nights we did a live Facebook with Jaime Kay and a cohort from the Jungle Room, Mike Ford as well, and we really enjoyed that, didn't we? That was great.
We had a right old it was like being down the boozer, wasn't it? It was like it was a proper Talking Elvis with your mates, and we were in the four corners of the world.
We started off talking about the 1969 Memphis sessions, and then it just ballooned into something completely different.
It was great. The notes went out the window, and we had a darn good chat, and a load of people joined in. So Facebook Live is the future. Watch this space.
Yeah. So if you go back to the Jungle Room podcast on Facebook, then you'll be able to hear exactly what was going on.
I've shared that on ours. It should also be on the Talking Elvis page if I've shared it properly.
Excellent. So go back and have a listen to that. That was really, really good fun. So Jaime Kay, Mike Ford, Jungle Room podcast, fantastic. But also this one, Talking Elvis. Come on.
You know it makes sense. We have another guest that we interviewed this week. Shush. No, I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. But he could talk for England, couldn't he? Right. So we'll have him on shortly. A drug dealer just turned up.
He's just left the package outside because he can't actually give it to me in person. So,
Oh, topical. So I think another little belter of a show there. I hope you've enjoyed it all.
Indeed, and thanks again to Jamie for doing that for us. It's absolutely wonderful to have her on the show.
Thanks, Jamie. See you real soon.
Find us at www.talkingelvis.co.uk or Facebook or YouTube or Spotify. In fact, any place you get your podcasts.